Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. Look, 2020 has proven to be the year of many things, and the same for 2022. But if you're a small business, this could also be the year you switch to a better payroll. Gusto wasn't just built for small businesses, it was built for the people behind them. Their online payroll is easy to use. Gusto can automatically calculate paychecks and file all your payroll taxes, which means you have more time to run your business. Plus, Gusto does way more than payroll. Gusto helps with time tracking, health insurance, 401ks, onboarding, commuter benefits, offer letters, access to HR experts. You get the idea. It's super easy to set up and get started. If you're moving from another provider, they can transfer all your data for you. It's no surprise that 94% of customers are likely to recommend Gusto. And here's the best part. Because you're a listener to this podcast, you get 3 months totally free. All you have to do is go to gusto.com/compliance. That's gusto.com/compliance. I'm telling you, you're going to love Gusto. Get started today. The Daily Compliance News for October 12, 2021, the Blue Origin edition. And we begin with that story from the Washington Post about Jeff Bezos' space firm, Blue Origin, and its toxic and dysfunctional bro culture, which has led to low morales and delays at the space venture. The report, or rather the article, discusses various reports of warnings to Blue Origin's leadership over the years that the company's culture had become dysfunctional, resulting in low morale and high turnover, and causing significant delays across several major programs, and most importantly, a failure to successfully compete with Elon Musk's SpaceX venture. The company grew quite quickly from a small corporation with nearly a small startup rather, to a large corporation with 4,000 people, and the current CEO is alleged to be out of touch with the rank and file, and they are condescending and more demoralizing, and this is what's led to the delays and why progress cannot be made. It's a really damning article, but for every compliance practitioner needs to read it because it really details what can lead to a dysfunctional culture and how it can destroy morale. Next up, from the New York Times, an article about another Bezos company, Amazon, and that company told its employees on Monday that it was loosening plans to force workers to return to their offices, further retreating from a rigid approach it had taken early this year. It backtracked from its office-centric culture, saying that most employees would not need to be into the office and there would be flexibility in its return to work plans. The decision will be left up to individual teams as they move forward. Next up, from the New York Times, or rather the Wall Street Journal, we have the first black Manhattan U.S. District Attorney who's taking over after the turbulent period under the Trump administration. The Southern District is viewed as the premier federal prosecutor's office in the country, and the Trump administration tried to turn it into an adjunct of the political corruption that Trump brought to everything he touched. So it's going to be good to see the Southern District for New York, Manhattan, return to a really top position in the country. And finally, a very interesting article from the Washington Post on the Facebook whistleblower Frances Hagen and how she utilized data to become a whistleblower. And it's a really interesting article that, once again, every compliance professional needs to read, because it details the steps she took to make her whistleblowing case more persuasive and probably something that could lead to a payoff if the SEC moves forward. So using data is incredibly important, and now we see it used by a whistleblower. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.